Hi, I want to talk to you today about practical ways to stay sober. If you've been watching, I've just celebrated 2 years, actually 25 months. It's 2 years and a month of sobriety, and it's been wonderful. Not every day, of course, but life still has its ups, its downs, but I'm always clear, I'm always present. Um, and for that, I am eternally grateful. And I was talking with my family about this, and a lot of these things that we've uncovered, we want to share with you. These are not, great mysteries. They're just tools and tricks that we've learned. Maybe tricks isn't the right word, but strategies that we've learned to just kind of minimize damage and move forward with our new lives. If you're struggling with addiction or sin and you're just looking for some practical ideas to put into place, then this video is for you, man. Obviously, I want to start by saying that I am a Christian, and I do not believe that that I'm capable of doing anything good apart from my Savior, Jesus Christ. His word every morning, it starts there, right? But does that mean that you have to be a Christian to be sober? No, I don't believe it does. And I want to share with you some of the ideas and some of the things that have come out of my walk and my journey. So here we go. When I was drinking, and for those of you that don't know, my entire life, from the age of 12, I've been introduced to substances, everything that you could name. But my drug of choice was alcohol. I was known for Adam, let's have another one, Schwagerman. And so I lived a lot of my life in denial. I don't know if many of you can relate to that. Of course, alcohol fuels a life of numbness, which you don't feel anything, so you're able to deny realities, like torn ligaments in your knee would be an example. So the real starting place for me, or where I'd like to begin this, is just in acceptance. Accepting that you have messed up, that your brain is broken. The way that you think as an addict is dysfunctional. It's like wearing a fog all day long that pollutes everything you see and everything you hear. Friends and loved ones try to tell you, hey man, you can do it, and all you're hearing is judgment. Everything is an excuse to use. You re-victimize yourself again and again. You're always the victim. You live in this perpetual world of pity. Accepting that you need help, that you need strength, accepting your own humanity, right? So accepting that need is really the place of humility, where, to me, that's where freedom begins. Hey man, I've messed this thing up. I don't even like who I am anymore. Taking direction is so foreign to us stubborn addicts. We're not really good at taking orders. We think, who do they think they are? Tell me how to live when you can't do X, Y, Z. There's always an argument. And deep down inside, they're just trying to help you. And they're right. Addiction's a wily creature, man. I called it an insidious parasite last video, and man, isn't that true. Admitting that we have to start at a place that says, God, I'm not strong enough to beat this today. Or whoever you pray to, man, I hope it's our Lord and Savior Jesus. Family, I have messed up. I admit that, man, I did this thing wrong. Help. Will you all please help? I need help. I went to my family when I first got sober, and I explained to them what this journey was going to be like. I knew the first 30 days were going to be horrible physically. The withdrawals were brutal. But after the first 30 days and after those physical symptoms kind of subside, that's when the real work begins, my friends. You have to regulate your emotions without a bottle. You have to learn how to grill without a bottle. You have to learn how to swim without a bottle. You have to learn how to go out to eat without a bottle. You have to deal with the stresses of work without looking forward to a bottle. Boy, oh boy, the work begins, and we need help. If you think you can do all of this by yourself, man, you might as well just look in the mirror and slap yourself. You're lying. You can't. We need help, so swallow your pride. Swallow your pride and accept that you may need a group. You may need to belong to a support group. You may need to change, That's the point too. Change. Change those people, those places, and those things. One thing I had to do was say goodbye to some relationships that partly were just, influencing me directly, and then partly was just indirect. I can look at a friend's life and go, man, he has the ability to control it, so I can control it. No. Now, he might have a healthy relationship with alcohol. That's between him and God. But I don't. You see, and it took me a long time to see that. The changing people will eventually change your places and your things. My places and my things are very different today because I'm not around the people that I used with. Very few addicts can stay around the people that they were using with and truly live a sober life. Sure, you might dabble with sobriety, but the truth is that temptation's always there, man. And going back to the first point, our mind, our brain, we have to understand, has believed these lies for so long that sometimes it's indistinguishable from the truth. Change your people, your places, and your things. I did a video about cutting off bad influences, and I had to do that work in my own life. It was very painful. Saying goodbye to people that I had called brother for 20 years. Why? Not because I hate them, not because I'm trying to punish them. It's because I can't be sober with that influence. I took a lot of humility to admit that. That pride thing. I can do it. Can you? How's that working? Because I had a decade of experience that proved to me that it wasn't. And I lied to myself time and time and time. I got tired of lying to myself, man. Aren't you tired of lying to yourself? Oh, it's so exhausting living in that world of addiction. And then the cycle of wake up and regret. Let's talk about breaking that, right? So changing your people. And listen, man, when you start to change, you're going to see that a lot of these people just don't come around anymore. They quit calling you, because using is what you had in common. And then when you don't have that, something's wrong with you, right? Listen, nothing should be more important to you right now than getting sober and clear. You can't even think straight. You can't think clearly. Not when you're just getting sober. Your first few weeks, you're so inundated with the physical symptoms that there's no way you can see clearly. As months turn into years, you start to look around and things start to make sense. You start to piece together why you did this or that. But for right now, give yourself a fighting chance. Cut off those bad influences and get around some positive ones. Change your people, your places, and your things. Man, embrace structure. Oh, man. Addiction loves nothing more than chaos, right? No bedtime, no wake up time, fluidity all across the board. Dude, freedom is in structure, man. Good friend of mine said the other day, earn your dopamine, all right? Earn your dopamine. I love that in reference to working out. So let me share with you some of the things I do. I've talked about praying in the morning. My mornings, my first fruits. Every day I start out with connecting myself to the vine, and that's the Word of God. I have to get God's thoughts in exchange for my thoughts. I don't want my thoughts. My thoughts led me down bad paths, put me in chains. I don't want those anymore. But starting out with that discipline, and it doesn't matter what it is. It might be making your bed, emptying the dishwasher. Have routine. I work out every evening. I prefer the workout, and I've talked to people that think differently. That's okay. There's more than one way to skin a cat. But I work out after work. I'm a public servant. I'm a public high school teacher, and in that sense, I like to release that stress. That's a sacred time, just like reading my Bible is. I put on a podcast, something like this one, and I let it play. And I let that time just kind of let that release happen, that natural physical release of stress. And that happens, of course, as soon as I get home from work. Our family, I again talked about going to your family and asking for their help. I sit down with my family every single night. We have dinner, we break bread, we have no phones at the table. Now, does that mean I'm anti-technology? Well, sort of, but I'm making this video for you, so clearly not 100%. But one thing I have learned is that families don't do this anymore. We don't sit down together anymore. And you know, call me old-fashioned, but maybe everything that used to happen wasn't so bad after all. These kids that I teach now, and I've been doing this for 23 years, working with young people, they're hurting, man. They don't have anybody to talk to. You know, you can't let a screen or an Xbox raise your child and then expect them to be emotionally healthy. So we sit down with our family and we talk to each other every single night. And I've developed this strategy, if you will, where I ask everybody at the table, what was your favorite part of your day? And sometimes it's that moment, you know, just getting to sit down and talk to each other. Sometimes it's sharing, hey, I got my driver's license today, like my son did this morning. We also share in each other's struggles, man. We're not alone. The worst thing you can do is isolate, brother, sister. That's what addiction wants. It wants you to come home hurting from work and then run to that back room and grab that cold drink, right? It's a cheat code, right? It numbs your emotions, but then all those problems are still there in the morning and you feel even worse about your problems and yourself. Sit down with each other, man. Talk to each other. I know at first your kids might buck you. At first, if you're a young person, you might look at this as corny, right? It's so old-fashioned. You know what? Yeah, I am. Unapologetically. Because some things are just the right thing to do, whether they're old-fashioned or not. And if you want to start to address a mental health issue or crisis, the best thing you can do is sit down and start talking to people that love you. Man, have dinner together. Set your phone down, man. Make those things a daily workout, a daily meditation, prayer, Bible reading, a daily breaking of bread. Those don't have to be these long, drawn-out times. They can be 30 minutes. That's 90 minutes of your day. It's less than 10%. And you're building in these habits, these structures in place that sound like work at first. I know some of you are sitting there going, oh, this sounds like work. This is more work than going and grabbing a beer. Yeah, it is. How's that working for you? How's running to alcohol every night, or running to weed, or running to cocaine? How's that working for you? How's it feel to give all of your money to strip clubs and and go out to clubs and hang out with people that don't care about you, soulless people that just want to take and use you. We're talking about building the right way. And yes, it will take time. We didn't get like this overnight, right? I drank every single night of my life for 11 years. When my mother died, I had no idea how to cope. I lost my grandmother and my mother within 7 weeks of each other. I had no idea how to cope with it. Bud Light, I drank on the way home, yo. We stopped at a gas station in Oklahoma on the way home, and I got beer, and I started chugging because I couldn't cope. One day turned into 1 week, turned into 1 month, turned into a year, turned into 11 years. 11 years of pain, of numb. Man. Now, this last one might sound corny, but I'm telling you, man, it's the secret sauce. Set a bedtime. And set a wake-up time. I know. I hear the old-fashioned bells and whistles going off, but let me tell you something, man. When you go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, there's all kinds of studies done on this. You get better sleep. You get deeper sleep. You're more rested, even if you're sleeping less hours. When you stay to a schedule, man, your body gets set to this circadian rhythm. And I know the first 30 days of shaking off those withdrawals are gonna be really rough. Been there. Embrace it. Embrace it. Remember it. It'll keep you from wanting to pick that bottle back up. Man, going to bed, embracing structure. These things sound like chains. They're not, dude. They're the secret to freedom. That's the irony of this addiction. It's just such a liar, you know, like going out to some club and spending money on overpriced drinks with people that don't even really know anything about us or the real us. Like, that's freedom? Okay. You might be feeling like, hey, Schwag, I'm doing these things, man, right? Like, I'm trying, I'm starting some of these things, but they're just not working, right? Like, I don't feel any different. In fact, I feel worse. Listen, sometimes it does get worse before it gets better. First 2 months of sobriety, I didn't hear God. I didn't feel God. I thought I was cut off from God. At one point in my mind, I thought, oh my God, I must not be able to be forgiven. If I committed the unpardonable sin, I'm so far gone. There's no coming back for me. Your mind will run wild. Remember, you're learning for the first time how to regulate your own emotions, your own thoughts. Give it time. After all, you didn't get like this overnight. It took me 11 years, man, 11 years to get that far deep into addiction. So of course, it's not gonna change overnight just because, poof, I made a decision. Stay with it, man. Stay with it. Some days a victory is just making it to the next day, and that's okay. Give yourself some credit. Give yourself a break. Embrace the structure, though, man. I know that lying voice of addiction. Oh, look at this. This is a list of do's and don'ts. No, it's not, man. Take it and make it work for your life. I'm sharing practical ideas that I took and implemented. There are people that you can listen to on other podcasts that will say, you must wake up at 5:30 and you must run 40 miles. Listen. I'm 46 years old. I have bone on bone in my left knee. My workouts last about 25 minutes per day. Some days I'm just doing yoga. Some days I do a kettlebell. It depends. Make it work for you. Don't be so dogmatic and legalistic. Make it work for you. Perhaps you work a different schedule. Maybe your hours are reversed from mine. And that's fine. Make it work. But I will tell you one thing that I have uncovered. And I know this is talking practically, but I have to say that I can't do this stuff apart from Jesus, man. I've tried. My willpower sucks. I get about five months in. That's about as far as I've made it. Practice selflessness. Oh, man. You know, we are some of the most selfish creatures, addicts. And occasionally we'll do something that wows everyone and says, oh man. But truthfully, we're always looking for our next fix, our next high, our good time. And dare anybody get in the way of that. Addiction in and of itself is a very selfish disease. I think one of the best things that recovering addicts can do is practice the act of selflessness. Go find somebody once a month, once a week, once a day. Whatever you can do and work into your life, and do something for them. Whatever it is. Help an old lady with the groceries. Pay somebody's bill that's behind you. Help somebody on the road. Help a colleague that you know is struggling. Do something for somebody else just for the mere act of doing it. Not to be repaid, not to be glorified in church and get your name read by the pastor. Just do it without your right hand knowing your left hand did it. It's good for you. It's the medicine. It gets our eyes off of ourselves. It gets our eyes on others. Man, it's good stuff. Forgiving. I'm so bad at this, I had to get it tattooed on my arm. Thank you, Trevor Hall, for your song, which helped me to stop looking at what was done to me and start looking at what I was becoming. See, unforgiveness is like swallowing poison and wanting the other person to die from it. And I get that some of you are dealing with some serious stuff. I know. I'm not here to tell you there's some magic wand that it's just going to go away and you're not going to feel it anymore. But forgiveness is a choice. Now, I don't have any secret sauce to help make abuse just magically heal. It takes time, it takes dedication, and I believe it takes a spiritual healing, one that only Jesus can give. But in our day-to-day lives, we pick up more offenses than we realize, and we say things out of our mouths about people and to people that are poison. Let me give you an example. You're driving home from work. If you live in a city similar to this, Dallas, Texas, we've grown immensely in the last 2 decades. My drive home from work has doubled in time, and so have the number of motorists. So have the number of rude motorists. You see where I'm going with this? How many times have you just thought something bad or said something bad about somebody? You don't even know them. Don't know what they're going through. So I've developed this thing where I just am crazy enough to stop myself before I can say, hey, you're number one. And I say, God bless you. May God make himself real to you tonight. May God show his face to you tonight. May God bless your family. Now, at first, I thought it was stupid. I was willing to do it. I just didn't really see the point. I was still getting frustrated. And man, I'm here to tell you that something amazing happens when we stop looking at our fellow man as our enemy. They're not our enemy. Now sure, you can decide to go out there and fight every idiot, and you can argue with every selfish driver that cuts you off and cheats around the cones, and hey man, you're gonna be a miserable person. Or you can just be the guy that says, you know what man, God bless you, dude. Bless you. Let it go. How many little things just poison us and just, I'm embarrassed to admit how many times I came home and was just spewing over what some driver did or said, or, oh man, oh, so much wasted energy. So forgiveness is not always about these landmark events. And if you're dealing with one, man, and you want prayer and you want further counseling, man, reach out. I'm here to help. But the truth of the matter is that's a decision that you will have to make day after day, to let it go. I talked to you guys about being sexually abused as a child and being beaten, physically abused. And man, I tell you what, I thought laying that man in the ground was gonna just all of a sudden take it all away. Wrong. And alcohol lies to you. Time does not heal all wounds. You can numb it, but it doesn't heal it. But forgiving those daily small offenses, those little spats that you and your spouse get into, those little offenses where you feel slighted by your children, maybe your coworkers are rude to you or they left you out of something, and maybe then the drive home, and you see how these just small things just pile up, and before we know it, we're just frustrated. And that's exactly what addiction wants. Just get nice and frustrated so you're ready to quit. Let it go, man. Just trust me when I say, you pray for every one of those people and situations and watch how they just start to just melt away over time. It didn't happen to me the first day. It didn't happen to me the first week. In fact, it was something that I just had to act on in faith, believing that by doing this, eventually the way that I think about these situations will change. Man, small frustrations, bro. Let them go. Not worth it. Not worth it. Here's my happy one. Celebrate milestones. So I got sober on August 24th of 2022. And that date we have celebrated every month. The 24th is my alive day. That is my rebirth, if you will. Now, ironically, I became a Christian on February 24th, which is also the 24th of the month. But man, that was also my mother's birthday. And we celebrate that day every month on the 24th. We get a cake and we sit down, and I've shared these moments with you guys through video and post, and it's just beautiful, man. It's beautiful to sit around and look at the people that are responsible for helping me get to this point and say thank you. Thank you for not quitting on me, man. Every month. Now, when I first got sober, dude, I had to do this almost every Friday. My brain was programmed to work and go to school, teach, and then when I would come home, I would self-medicate, right? I would drink that bottle until I passed out. The minute I got home to the minute my head hit that pillow, I would drink. And so weekends for me were difficult at first. I had to reprogram the circuitry of my brain. I was really struggling with how to, feed that reward scepter part of my brain. So here's what I suggest. Every Friday or every end of your work week, pick out your favorite dessert. Pick out a great, cake. Tonight's Friday, in fact, and we're going to be getting into some chocolate chunk cookies with some vanilla ice cream. I'm really looking forward to that, actually. Every Friday or whatever day you end on, just pick something that you can look forward to, some healthy tradition that you can do with your kids. Maybe it's a movie night and pizza. Maybe it's something simpler. Whatever it is, go out. Although in the beginning for me, my anxiety levels were so high, I didn't look forward to going out to eat. Dealing with both the physical and the emotional side of addiction was difficult for me. So I preferred to be home, and we've developed a lot of these traditions just sitting around our dinner table. But whatever you decide to do, man, celebrate your success. Man, that first 100th day, my wife got balloons and we went out. We just really made it a big deal. And you will too. You will too. These days are rough. You know, the day can beat you down. And when you get to a moment where you can stop and celebrate, you should. AA even acknowledges this, right? When you're in the program, they acknowledge your sobriety date every month for the first year, and then after that, it's every year. Now, look, man, who are they to tell you when to celebrate and when not to, okay? I celebrate every month, and I'm going on, I just passed 25 months of sobriety. I would encourage you, man, do what works for you and your family. Whatever you need to incentivize and look forward to that next week or that next month or that next year. Do it. Do it. And then lastly, and this is where I'm talking to you, pass this on. Not in the beginning. You don't want to do anything and overextend yourself that jeopardizes your own sobriety. But when you get to a point where you know that you have something that others need, that others are searching for, be willing to pass that on, whatever that looks like. For me, I wrote a book about it. I had to sit down with my family and make sure that they were okay with me going public, because many of these things are very embarrassing and humiliating, mostly on myself. But we are pulling the curtain back so people everywhere can see exactly what it looked like, what addiction does to a family, and what recovery looks like. It's great. It's wonderful. Those of you that know me know that this is not just natural to me. Standing in front of a camera is about as foreign to me as anything ever could be. Maybe ballet dancing would be the only thing that could compare. As a high school teacher of seniors, I watch kids that stare at a screen all day, every day. They just screen and scroll their life away. And this is not something that I would have ever thought I'd be doing. But my job now is just to be obedient. You see, I want to be a blessing. So this video is for you. It's not for me. It's for those of you that are struggling out there and you just say, hey man, I don't know about, this religious thing. I watched some of your videos, Swag, and you seem to be pretty into this Jesus guy, but I know I need to change. I know my life is not going good. And I'm tired of lying to myself, man. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of living a lie. I want to start today. Dude, I'm here to tell you, man, it gets better. I know I'm asking you to start by faith right now, and putting some of these practical things into your life are going to take time. But man, if we can commit ourselves to years of drug and alcohol abuse, how can we not commit ourselves to some of these practical, healthy solutions that are not only going to heal you, they're going to heal your relationships, your spouse, your kids, your parents. Man, it gets better, dude. It gets better every day, man. Keep it up. If you need anything, please reach out. I try to get back to everyone that comments or reaches out to me. I believe my email address is also on there, but I will be more than happy to be any source of inspiration or any strategies, tools I've learned along the way. One last thing that just occurred to me. So when we were talking about forgiveness, one of the things, the messages that I constantly remind myself, and if you're struggling to find the motivation to quit using, just consider this. When I'm faced with a life decision, I often ask myself, questions like, am I going to remember this in 5 years? matters? Is this something that's so major that I will remember acutely what this is? But I also ask a deeper question. What if I learned today that I was dying of cancer? Would this matter? I assure you, my friend, if we knew that we only had days, weeks, or months to live, what would matter to us is the people that are under that roof. Not all the trivial things that are driving you away from them. What would matter is your relationship with your Creator. Not drinking, partying, going out, having all the new toys, trying to compete with everybody. It's so empty, bro. Alright. I hope this video is a blessing to you guys, man. I love y'all. God bless you.